the sound of the police in my hood.
Oh, welcome, folks. Hey, it's another episode of Three Black Heathens. Tonight, we're actually going to have some fun. We're going to talk about some stuff a little bit before we get into it, because I know y'all want to hear Emperor Atheist and G-Con get into it. What does the Bible say concerning who you can do what to? Because as we heard from some folks, you know, certain things like slavery, it ain't nothing but a thing. But we're gonna really see what's going on there. Text. Go get your Bibles now. Go have it next to you. I got a Skeptics Annotated Bible nearby. I'm going to reach for it in a minute. But, folks, we got today Nate Brody. We got Emperor Atheist. We do have G-Con. He is here. And I want to, before we begin officially, let y'all know October 11th, our artist, the man behind the scenes, Mr. Monty, has his own show that he's going to start with his partner Hannibal, the Monty and Hannibal Shit Show, as it's called. But you can just go to YouTube and type in Monty and Hannibal Show. But without further ado, do we have the first clip of some of the most recent news and laughable stuff?
Real laughable.
Should have got the mushroom tip one. That actually had
really. Yeah, that's what we really should have got for real, the mushroom tip. Hey, Sabella.
Who's that? Well, Nate, where we at, man?
They done went to sleep on us or something, Drag? What they done?
Uh-oh. Technical difficulties. Uh-oh. We're gonna have to just put a black spot where Nate was. That's all right. Anyway.
Hey man, Tiger Woods won his first major championship well, it ain't major, but it's the tour championship in like 5 years.
You know what? I
finally got over that beating he took from his ex-wife, I guess.
No, I don't think it was a beating. I think it was he went to therapy and he got cured of one of the strangest and in my opinion, one of the best addictions that you could have is sex addiction. So I mean,
no, that's right.
His sex addiction, and I would never figure that little scrawny dude that was testosterone in him to do that. But fuck, he had a sex addiction. So anyway,
Tiger was knocking him down, man.
I guess so. All right, we got okay. Here we go. So.
Yeah, we got it.
One thing my wife always says about Tiger Woods is that she wasn't dating no black women. None of his chicks, none of the 19 or 20 chicks he was banging them, none of them was black.
Really?
Like he couldn't find one black chick to bang. All the chicks he blanked wasn't sisters. Like all of them was white.
Really?
He didn't find one. Not one of them was black.
It sounds like your wife was almost disappointed.
She was like, yeah, if you stepping out on your wife like that every night, you couldn't find one black chick to say, oh, you know, she's all right.
Man, maybe he didn't find out in his circle. I don't know, man. Maybe he's just stuck on vanilla.
Yeah, he keep his circle kind of homogenous from what I understand, so.
Yeah. No, did he call himself, what was the term he gave himself years ago, Nate? Caublasian?
White? Oh, maybe Caublasian.
He said he was Caublasian.
Caublasian.
Black and Asian, so. I guess either three.
I mean, do I need to consider myself Blackese, Black Portuguese, like what is?
Yeah, Black Asian.
Let's
Black
look.
Portia blacks.
Let's look at the clip. All right, so this is the clip. This clip is, what is it? It is with Trump, Florence, one of the wettest from the standpoint of water. Let's listen to what this is about.
This is a tough hurricane, one of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. Rarely have we had an experience like it, and it certainly is not good. There's been a loss of life, and may God be with them and their families. That's a tough one. It's tough to understand, but this has been a really difficult period of time for a lot of people.
I don't know why, man. You still talking?
Is he?
Right, you guys are good.
I thought so. I'm still because I made a Facebook post about this, and I said, "What the fuck does that even mean? Like, I don't. What is a hurricane made out of other than wind, anger, and water? Like, I don't get. Like, is it made out of fucking gasoline?
What the hell does the wettest? I don't know. Maybe it's just the amount of rainfall he's talking about. Maybe that's that. What he's. I don't know what he can mean.
Hey, you know what, man? I get so much joy from listening to this guy speak because
I don't know.
Because it helps remind America, man, what a dumb person they voted into the presidency. Man, this dude, good man. He says the silliest stuff, man. He said the wettest. What? I don't know, man.
Wettest from the standpoint of water.
What the fuck does that mean? What does that mean? That's like philosophically giant right there. That's like what?
I don't know.
From the standpoint of water, everything seems wet from the standpoint of water. I don't know.
Look how he look, man. Look how he look when he hold the mic to his mouth, man.
I don't like he holds the water bottle like that because someone like of course people are just picking things, he can't even hold water bottles correctly. It's like okay, but I actually looked at it and how he holds things bothers me. And it's like, well, that's petty. That's incredibly petty. It looks like he doesn't have a firm grip on anything, including his sanity. But literally, if I wanted to hold an expensive object, presumably the microphone costs a little bit of money, why does he hold it like it's a fucking flute? Like that's, if you look at how he has his position, like it's a recorder or a flute he's trying to play.
All I can say, man, he's a fun guy, man. I have fun following him on Twitter. He's a fun guy. He's the funniest POTUS we've ever had. I must say that. I think he's hilarious. And he's made a joke of America, but it's okay. We'll bounce back. I don't know who's coming up next. But America's been through worse. We'll bounce back. Just have fun with him right now.
Fuck it. I can't. So, as somebody who's been hit by a fucking hurricane, the water from the hurricane itself isn't what you have to fear. It's just the flooding, like just the damage from levees.
Does the wetness kill people?
The wetness? No, it's not the wetness. No, it's crazy to me. But most people end up dying because the water supply gets like not poison, but it gets contaminated. You get like cholera, listeria, and like waterborne pathogens and shit like that. So
being wet doesn't. So you telling me being wet doesn't destroy anything?
No, you don't degrade when you get in water. No, that doesn't happen. No, from the standpoint of, I don't know, like life. I'm fucking like I don't know how to even square that circle. Like,
listen, if he would have just said this was one of the wettest, then we'd have been good. Because he must just be talking about the rainfall.
Like the rainfall. Like yeah. I can see that.
But then he said from the standpoint of water.
Like,
oh man.
As opposed to what? Air? Like this is the wettest.
What are we talking about other than water?
From the standpoint of fire.
Hey, listen, man.
It's the hottest. It's the hottest from the standpoint of fire.
It's the hottest. Hey, listen, man. Y'all gonna leave Trump alone? He gonna sit and serve. You know what Eminem? I don't know if y'all remember this though. Y'all remember what Eminem did the BET performance, and he talked about Trump. This was 2 years ago, about a year and a half ago, something like that.
I think so.
Do you know that the Secret Service actually went to Eminem's studio and said, "Hey man," they asked Eminem talking about it in the YouTube video too. He said that they actually Secret Service went to him and said, "Hey man, were you serious or were you just expressing yourself through music?" Yeah, they visited him, man. So. Yeah, they actually visited him, man.
They had a conversation.
I wish they would come to me and ask me something about this dumb motherfucker. I'm saying he's just a stupid motherfucker. We're just expressing ourselves through YouTube.
Yeah, nobody wants federal agents coming to their house talking about we need to have a conversation. You know, Emperor Atheist is like, like, oh, come talk to me. You know,
no shit.
What? You gonna talk to me?
Hey, listen,
I did some shit that much when you had to come see me. Oh shit.
Hey, Crow Many Clouds Crow Many Clouds said, from the standpoint of air, this storm was very breezy.
No, it works. It fits. It fits. But like, no shit, I was actually concerned about 2.5 years ago that I was gonna have some agents on me. Y'all remember that dude that shot up Dallas? He was a vet, but he was looking for cops. And he shot
black
cops.
guy,
yeah.
Well,
I knew him on
say the
Facebook.
black guy.
Yeah, he and I were Facebook friends.
Oh shit!
Yes, I spoke to him.
Hey Nate, they finna shut us down now for real.
We got his friend up in here. We got his friend, his Facebook friend.
I put that on Facebook, and so I got contacted by my inbox blew up with reporters. Like, so you knew him? I was like, look. He and I met each other through a Facebook group. I'm on Raw, scholarship, and he and I briefly chatted. He and I were both vets, and we were just talking about certain social issues. He didn't say, "Oh no, I'm about to go do it," because I would have ratted on his ass in a heartbeat.
Quick question: This guy, when Dallas police cornered him, they blew him up. They sent the bomb in and blew him up.
In the robot, right?
They sent Megatron. Yeah, they sent Megatron.
There was a huge article on ethics on whether they should have done that or they should have not done that. What do you guys think about it? Because they were like, just think about it. They became judge, jury, and executioner at that point when they sent the bomb in to blow him up. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, what else did you expect? He already expected that. He had killed a couple of cops. So I mean,
yeah, I mean,
so that type of summary judgment's okay in the street. You kill a cop and put your hands up, they can just bah. He killed the cop.
That's what they do anyway. So that's what they do anyway.
But from the ethical standpoint, that's what we're talking about.
I don't like it because I understand if he had explosives, like if he was going to blow himself up and to contain a potential explosion, then they retaliated. Then I could kind of see that. But he had the same weapons that was a guy named Timothy McVeigh had. Like it seemed like it was. I didn't know that you could do that until that happened. I didn't know that you could blow a motherfucker up like that. I didn't know police had little Megatrons with bombs. Like
that had to be in a plan somewhere. Like, yo, bring out the bomb. Like that had to be in a plan. So bring out the bomb. Like, let's blow this motherfucker up. Plan 32B.
Yeah, because they didn't want to try to get up any closer to him. So that was they got some hella shit. They do.
No, but just imagine they got plans to blow a motherfucker up if shit get too tight. Yo, get the bomb. That's where we at. That's where we at.
Let's not forget what they did to Philadelphia back in the 80s.
I was just about to say, they blew up the communes.
They dropped little bitty bombs out of helicopters, blew up a whole black community. You remember that, Nate?
Damn. I didn't know about this. This is interesting.
This happened years after.
Oh man.
This happened years after. Fuck was it? The Black Wall Street.
No Black Wall Street. Yeah, no Black Wall Street.
Yeah, not Black Wall Street. This was in the 80s. I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know this happened after. Yeah, so this was even after that, and after the Appaloosas riots and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
right. So they've been doing military crazy shit like this. People they feel like they either can't control or people they feel like is a threat. But it ain't no secret,
No, but
you gotta know what you're going up against. You know what I mean?
But
that's true.
But building a little Megatron to come blow you up, though, man.
They got plenty of little Megatrons. Man, you must have never been to LA and seen LAPD train.
No, man, look.
LAPD been doing that, man.
I've been to LA maybe 4 or 5 times in my life. I try to get out of LA. I don't like that traffic, man.
Man, LAPD been practicing with little Megatrons, man.
No, man. They
would blow you up, man.
They need to take Bumblebee and Megatron and carry their ass back to Cybertron. No.
Yeah, they'll blow you up.
No, sir. Oh, man.
They good like that. Hey man, what's up? What's up with your nephew though, Drag?
Ooh.
Drake, man, talking about messing with some little girls or something.
Oh man, look. So
And
here's
shout out to Drizzy Drake, man. OVO. I like Drake. I like Drake.
yeah, no, I like Drake's music.
Unless he turns out to be a Chester child blesser. Now, I don't believe it as of now, but what kind of news you got on that?
So here's what I've been seeing on the book face and on all kind of stuff. People in a tizzy over Drizzy. Y'all like that? So he has a new girlfriend. She's 18 years old. She's on Instagram. I think she's some type of model actress. I don't know what she does, but it turns out, people like, well, she's 18, he's like 34, 35, kind of whatever. I'm like, that's not a big deal to me. Yeah, I mean,
that's legal, right?
Yeah, that is legal. It is legal.
Okay.
My stepfather has quite a few years on my mother, and that's how shit rolls. But people found on Instagram, back in 2016, 2 years ago, when she was 16, he was on there because she's born in 2000 now. She's still young. And he's on there liking and commenting and hearting and this, that, and the other.
So she's 18 now.
No, she's 18 now.
Okay.
So people know about their relationship now, but it's like, what were y'all talking about? What were y'all doing before? So people are like, but you know what? Ain't no evidence that he said or did anything inappropriate, but he was talking to her while she was a minor.
Well, what's this 18-year-old's level of hotness? Is she like mind-blowingly hot, or is she like,
I've seen
intermediate hot?
She, what? I would give her 8.5, 9.
Now I would say this: it doesn't really matter, because when you're talking about age, then obviously it's just a hard number. She's less than 18 years old. She's less than 18 years old. But maybe, I don't know if he may have even, to assume that he's been doing something. I don't know if that's do you believe a rock star with a 9, 10 girlfriend? Is he going to wait the 2 years? I don't know.
No, I don't think. I think he has some intermediates to step in her stead. That's just me. I don't know Drake. I don't know how promiscuous he is, but I just know what he says in music. So, but no, I'm looking, her name is Malika Terry. So,
she get like mad Instagram followers now. Everyone's they'll follow me on Instagram.
Oh yeah, she getting mad Instagram followers. I don't know, man. Prince, his wife. I don't know if y'all remember his wife. He met her when she was like 15, 16. Yeah. And married her when she turned like 18, 19. So I don't, Prince my boy, so I mean, it happens, Well, everybody ain't gonna do the R. Kelly to him.
Well, here's a fun fact. What's the youngest you can get married in the state of New York?
I think 14 with your parents' permission.
Yeah, 14 with parents' permission. You can get married. Yes, you can legally be married at 14.
That's a terrible law.
Some states are even less.
Less than 14?
Yeah.
Yeah, the only reason I even knew that is because there was some type of social experiment somebody did where they had a child bride with a dude who had to be in his late 50s, and they were sitting next to people in public, and there's a photographer, and the girl, she had to be like 12, 13, and she's in a wedding dress, and he's, of course, in a tux. And people are like, what the fuck's going on here? It's like, oh, we're getting married. It's cool. It's okay. And they go back to taking pictures, and go, little girl, where are your parents? Oh, they sold me. What? As people are freaking out. And so then people come in and say, hey, no, this is legal in New York. You can legally.
Not if she's 13 or 12. For 14, no, 14.
Yeah, but she's 14. Your parents can bind you to a grown-ass man in marriage. It can happen.
Well, I'm glad you explained that and why you knew that.
Yes. No, I looking that shit up. No,
you looking up child brides. Hey, babe, I know you're 14, but we can make this work.
I still think, man? You know what? I actually think, we always talk about the Catholic Church, which we always should talk about those religious pedophiles, but...
Oh, yeah. Didn't one of them recently say he didn't know that molesting kids was wrong or some shit like that?
Yeah, for a couple of them fools done said that, man.
Yo, R. Kelly in the chat just said, did someone say my name?
You better go back in that closet.
Oh, my God.
R. Kelly, don't piss on nobody tonight. I'm gonna piss on you. I'm gonna piss on you.
Oh, that's Dave Chappelle.
But listen, man. But listen, though.
God.
Like I said, what I wanted to say, we always talk about the Catholic Church and the church in general. But the church, I think the church is I think the church is a pool for pedophiles and stuff like that, and it is shown through history, especially the Catholic Church. They just hold no bar. But I think, man, you got a law like that in America that you can get married at 14, even with the parents' permission. I think that's kind of sick, and I think that shows the kind of sickness in our culture, even over here in the West. And I think that's kind of terrible, man.
I think it was made for religious reasons, if I'm not mistaken. I think it is there because I'm not sure if it's the Hasidic Jews or if it was another group, but I want to say people advocated for it. Don't quote me on that one, folks. I'm just going based on my recollection, but that's the only reason that I believe that it even exists.
And you might be right, but I think that's like, we talk about Islamic nations, specifically Islamic nations who basically follow the lead of their leader, the pedophile Prophet Muhammad, who married a girl when she was 6 years old, consummated marriage when she was 9, Aisha, according to their religion. It's strange because in Islam they teach that long as a girl is of puberty, then she's okay. It's okay. That's kind of like almost the same sentiment. I don't think puberty, actually makes a female ready for womanly things.
No, not mentally.
But that's what they said. Well, she reached the age of puberty, then she's okay.
Don't forget though,
I still think that's sick.
But this is a vestige of a time long before penicillin that doubled the human lifespan. You know what I'm saying? Right. No, but this is a time when modern medicine wasn't as what we are. 76 wasn't the lifespan that we live. Now if you're talking about some people living to 30, 35 in the best conditions, then you're talking about, if you can't have babies when you turn 30 because your life expectancy is like another 5 years. You have to start having and raising children earlier. I'm not saying 14 is the right age, was never been the right age, but I'm understanding why that age has been moved back so far because of just the social and economic factors of those times.
Oh, I get it. I mean, my grandmother, like Godless Island. I don't know if y'all looking at the chat, but
yeah, I see it.
Godless Island said that his grandmother was 14 when their granddaddy and say his great granddaddy tried to shoot at him twice, tried to kill him.
Wow.
Well, I mean, my grandmother had kids at 15 and 16. We know that's how it was, especially in the South back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. People ran off with their wives at 14 and 15 and 16. But that still don't make it. I don't, and I see what you're saying, Nate, as far as women having kids at too old. But I just think that should be a starting point too. They shouldn't be so young either. You know what I mean? Yeah.
No, I
don't know how you could judge it. But I just don't think puberty is a good enough starting point. I don't think you should just judge it on puberty. I think a lot of girls reach that puberty at 10 years old, 11 years old.
Well, I'm saying that from the perspective of people who live to 75 years of age. But again, if your life expectancy is only 30, then 20 is not 18 is now you're talking about late age. You're close to death at that particular point. Versus maybe when you want to start having babies soon as that clock starts to hit, because it gives you more opportunities to have babies, and a lot of times mothers don't survive that process, and babies don't survive, so you got to have multiple chances and things of that nature. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of social pressures and environmental pressures that kind of dictate that age of when it's right to have a life.
I was married when I was married when Joseph had sex with her.
I don't know.
She was a woman, from what I understand. I want to say she was grown.
No, I said she was a little girl. That's what a lot of legends say. She was a little young girl.
Yeah, did y'all ever see that? Did y'all ever see that cartoon Maury Povich, where it's "You Are Not the Father" with fucking Joseph, and it's like he's like, yo, I came back and she was pregnant, laid up in a manger. Talking about it was a miraculous conception. He was like, "That's not my son."
Hey, but
and then Maury Povich was like, "You are the father." No.
Hey, that was funny. You got to see that, Dragon. You haven't seen it. But now, I know we don't have a lot of stories to actually verify as far as the New Testament age of it. But because Islam, for the Mishnah and the Midrash, they say that she was like 12 or 13, 14 years old when Joseph married her. And of course, Islamic legend says the same thing. Come on, she's a young girl. According to the Hadith, the age of 13, some say 12, about to have her Bain mitzvah and all of this crap. But who knows? But probably, I mean, if she, even I'm just speaking hypothetically, if she existed, But I mean, I just think 14, 13, all that just too young. 15, 16 too young for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when you study ancient cultures, especially in the Middle East and Africa, I don't know about in Europe, but in Near East, what you find out is that, especially in Egypt, they didn't wait, like the brother said, all the way to a person was like
No, they didn't.
23 in that area, because what they wanted to do is, if they, especially the royal lines, what they wanted to do is they want to start having as many kids as possible, so they can always have somebody to exist on their throne. And so even in Africa, they started, around about 13 to 14 years old, just as well. You know, and so when we get to this society, that's definitely sick to us, because like I got a 13-year-old daughter and 13-year-old, I'm sorry, I got a 14-year-old boy, as well as I have a daughter. You know what I'm saying? This young, so I ain't going for none of that at all. But
Right, like G-Con just said, it is a society. Yeah, look, we know. I mean, we didn't got to go back to ancient Africa. Like I said, we just go back to the 40s and 50s. It was normal, even here in America, with black and white families. But it just seems out of place now. You know what I mean? And I think that goes with society. Like I said, I think the zeitgeist changes. But as far as, you can get off into an argument of morality when it comes to that. I think it's immoral for a 30 or 40 something year old man to have sex with a 13 or 14 year old. Now, 50, 40 years ago here in America, you might not have thought that.
But that's even though that moral determination, it does lead to the fact of whether morals are absolute, or whether there's this, or whether it's subjective or not. Because that's
why I say it goes off into, it can go off into a philosophical argument of morality, and how the morality goalpost shifts from different time periods, different. Like I said, we only have, and we actually know, like G-Con said, as far as Egyptian, not even before Egypt, we talk about pre-dynastic periods, because Egypt wasn't just one big, it was just basically one big melting pot that borrowed from other cultures around it, Nubians, the Cushites, and all these people, they married at 11 and 12 years old. You know what I mean? So that was the culture. But this is what I tell a lot of Muslims when they try to defend. I mean, I don't care. Even if you say it was 7th century, right? And you say, well, this was normal for an old man to have sex with a 9-year-old girl. History doesn't actually show that was happening during that particular time period. But I asked them now. I said, well, would you allow your 9-year-old, 10-year-old daughter, if an old Muslim brother in your masjid wanted to have sex with your 10-year-old daughter and marry her and give her gold and money, whatever, what would you do? They never answer my question. I'm like, but it was okay back then, but why isn't it okay now? So that lets me know that either the moral compass of your God has changed, or the people are ignoring, or there's no such thing as absolute morality, which of course it isn't, but objective morality, how you see morality, is it subjective? Does it change? Does the goalpost switch from society to society from a different time period? Or is it something, or is morality something that the people agree on?
But there's a third option, which is we just don't know. You know what I'm saying? I think it would almost leave it up to like a false dichotomy, because there could be absolute morality could exist. We just may not know of it. And all these things are pointing us to a direction, but we just don't know what it is as of yet. So that's why I'm saying to say it has to be either one of the two. It could be a combination of both.
Right,
we can't actually determine what the objective morals are, but that doesn't mean they're not out there. You know what I mean?
That's very true. Hey, did y'all hear about, this is a topic, man, we probably need to keep revisiting too, though, because, and not just because the Catholic Church keeping it new, but the Catholic Church is not just doing it to the girls, they're actually doing it to little boys. That's, I mean, I don't know, that's a different monster.
I don't know, man. It's like if you're raping children, the sex doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? They're children.
Well, you know what? It does kind of matter. It does matter, Nate, because like I said, we can go back. We can go back to just the 50s and 60s, and old men marrying young girls, and these young girls growing up, and they was married to these old men for 30, 40 years, had great lives, had great kids, grandkids. But we go back, you're talking about an old man messing with a young man. No, it does matter. That's a big difference. That's homosexuality to a child. Now, if you're homosexual and you're grown and you're messing with a grown man, that's your business. I ain't got no problem with you doing that. But you're talking about a child. You're going at a child, basically tricking them using your leadership position or whatever to trick a child of the same sex. I think that's a totally different monster. That's not the same.
You know what? Let me push back on you on that, Imp. I just thought about something. Because I think an argument that somebody can make. You remember the Spartans, the badass warriors?
Yeah, they was.
They used to practice what they said was taking the seed of their mentor. That part of them becoming Spartan warriors was them getting boinked by their mentors.
Yeah, but do you know where the Spartans were from?
Damn.
Yeah, I know where
they were from. They were from the Greek Isles. And this is where we get the term gymnasium from. A lot of y'all listening to this podcast right now, I want y'all to go look up the etymology for gymnasium. I actually did a report on this in college about the Spartans and all of the homosexual tendency of them. Even the Roman Empire doing Saturnalia celebrations. That still don't make it right, Drag. That still don't make it right. I don't give a damn if the Spartans did it. The Spartans were warriors, but the things that but do you think it was just because the Spartans did it, right? Just because the Spartans did it and actually had this culture, which was their culture, I mean, does that make it right because it was somebody's culture? Just like if I say right now, we go to some Islamic countries, not even Islamic, just African cultures who are cutting off the clitoris of the female just because it's their culture, because they think, well, we don't think the woman is not meant to have sexual pleasures doing sex, so we're gonna cut off. Do I say do we think that's cool just because of their culture? I mean, just because the Spartans did it, that don't mean it's morally correct or even when we talk about normative morality. I mean, is it even a normal thing to even think that people should think like that?
Well, I do want to just kind of separate a couple of things. Like the first thing we were talking about is the homosexuality with the Catholic Church issue, and I do just want to just acknowledge my disagreement that the sex of the victim matters in that because you're raping children, you get the maximum penalty. They should throw you in a box, and that should be the end of your life and career.
There's a difference.
You know what I'm saying? I know. I'm saying I'm just saying I just disagree with it. I think the punishment to that person who's being sexually assaulted, that punishment to them is still the same. They're being victimized the same by whoever it may be, no matter what the sex is. So maybe there might be a personal difference, but I think legally there is no difference. They're all monsters that should go to hell. They should go not to hell but to jail for long amounts of time.
Okay, so hold up, Nate. Nate. We go back in your lineage. I want to keep these comparisons, of the subject for a minute. So if we go back in your lineage, and we say you had a male in your lineage, we ain't talking about him messing with no little boy, but let's say you had a male in your lineage, maybe great-grandfather, who married your great-grandmother, and she was 15, 16 years old, and he was 45. You think he should have got punished for that?
No. I don't.
You just said that, though. You just said that.
No, I didn't say that. Go ahead.
You just said that both should be punished. You said it don't matter if you're messing with the little boy or the little girl. You said you think both, but you used the term rape.
Yes.
In the case that we're talking about older men messing with younger women. We're not talking about rape.
All right. Well, that's a different. See what I'm saying is today's in the context of today, and when I'm talking about law, that's one thing than the context of 20, 30 years ago, 15 years ago, for instance. Is
right. I feel. Okay.
So you're right. Back in the 1900s. 45-year-old men married 14-year-old girls. That was the custom. You weren't,
Right.
And even today, you could still marry a 14-year-old girl in the state of New York if you had the proper. So it's like in that may be sick to say, but that's possible. But the point I just think the point is that the Catholic Church is what I believe is a criminal enterprise because they have been protecting these particular individuals who've committed these sexual assaults. And how have they been doing that? They've been hiding records from the police. They were trying to convince victims not to come forward and people who had witnessed things not to say what they had said. They had paid off people who threatened to expose them. So you're talking about it in Pennsylvania alone. There was something like 300 priests and over thousands of victims. Right. At what point are we going to say this institution is promoting this deviant sexual act and criminalization against our children? Because that's who the ones who are suffering. And I think until we separate, yes, the person who believes in that has the 100% right to believe. But that organization doesn't have the right to allow people to abuse children. and we have to put a stop to it.
I agree with that. That's true.
I'm sorry. I feel like that was like a Sunday sermon right there.
Yeah, you probably was a preacher in your past life, Nate.
We want to make sure we get enough prayers for Sister Mary Allen. I want y'all to go all to the hospital and go make sure she feels the love. Jesus.
Oh man.
The
Oh
love.
my God. Yo, G-Con, are you back? I thought the truth, but you was just back.
Oh shit.
G-Con, he's muted. He muted us, man.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Yeah.
So what's going on? What's going on, man? How you been doing?
Oh man, I just been chilling, man, for real. You know, just chilling.
Yeah, Emperor. You know what? One thing, whatever you do, if you get Emperor Atheist on your Facebook, don't watch any of his videos. His videos will turn you into somebody who hates the police, because he sent me some videos and I'm like hating the police. I'm like, I hate these guys.
Hey,
why do you
man.
send me this stuff? Don't
Facts,
watch any videos you send them.
Hey man, we got to deal with the facts. I want to say something about that too, man. Before we start, man, I don't think I'm gonna tell you something. My experience, man. For my experience with the police, it's always been, it's been bad. But I've had a lot of bad experience with black officers too, though. I think you have a lot of good white officers out here, man, that are trying, right? But this is what I think. I think, and Sarah, I don't know if y'all know Sarah Garvey, man. This brother just shared something with me. I did want to talk about this tonight, but we changed the subject. But he shared something with me that we're probably going to wind up speaking on. FBI, it was an FBI study done by the FBI, and it was another entity that did this study, and then it showed that the FBI actually knows or been had knowledge that white supremacists are actually invading the police forces in America. So I mean, I don't know how surprising that is, but this is just a fact of the matter, man. So we have to be careful out here, man. We have to be careful out here. But you can't never just try to put your finger and say it's everybody, because it's never everybody, man. There's a lot of good white officers out here that actually try to do the law and try to do right. And some stupid black officers out there too, though. So hey.
Yeah. And I think there's a misconception that people think that all black folks just don't like white police officers. No, it's pretty much all police officers. It don't matter, because a lot of times it's not necessarily anybody wearing his uniform is bad. No, because you can turn that logic around on anyone. Anyone who looks like that is bad. It is you are part of an organization who values loyalty over integrity, in a position where you need the utmost integrity. That is the issue. If you are unwilling to uphold the values and the standards of that charge, then there's an issue. There's a problem. And like Hannibal says in the chat, just from personal experience, no one that I know personally from Louisiana trusts the NOPD.
Yeah.
And it's not a white versus black thing. It is a family thing. There are certain families that have been a part of the NOPD, the New Orleans Police Department, for generations, and they are there to act on the behest of certain other families, and that's it. It's no big difference from the Italian mafia, honestly, but they understand that if you're not a part of these Babineaus or Thibodeaus or whoever, you're gonna have a bad fucking time. And if those families don't like you, guess how often you're gonna get stopped randomly, and there's nothing that you can really do about it. So there are systemic issues that don't get addressed, and that people are seem to be too invested in simply saying, you know what, well, whatever the police do, I'm going to agree with, because they're the people in positions of power. No, that's not how shit works. No, they get power by us allowing them to have authority over us. That's how that works. So, yeah, but it's way more nuanced than a lot of folks give it credit for. Internet memes are cool and slogans are cool and mantras are awesome, but there are some real issues that need to be tackled that have to do with the lack of integrity on the behalf of people who are in positions to actually affect us in the society.
That's true.
Oh shit.
What is that? Somebody got an echo, man.
That was
G-Con, are you in here twice?
Probably.
Uh-oh.
yeah, she's in
Because it's going to be
twice.
2 against 1. That's what's going to happen. So they're going to call the boys on you.
What is oh yeah, I forgot the okay.
Oh, there was something.
I don't know. You know what? I'll say this from. You know what? It's funny. From the law enforcement perspective, you know, most people are just out there trying to just, you know, do their 9 to 5, get their check, and come home and just let it be done. And unfortunately, only time you call law enforcement is when you need something. You know, it's people's darkest hour. Nobody's calling the police to say, hey, we're having a good time here. They're calling the police because they're in trouble. So you're always seeing the worst of people. You're always seeing the bad, the ugly, and sometimes one of the biggest issues is in the community. The people who police in the communities aren't from the communities, and I think that disconnect in, you know, how the communities are versus who's policing the communities does make a difference. And I think that is probably what's going on in, let's say, a place like New Orleans. If no one trusts the police department, then your elected officials are failing you. You know, that's just what it is. You know, it should be a partnership, and it's just most of the time it's not. It's almost like, I think, especially in poor communities, it's almost like an invading force. You know, people who are not from the neighborhood, who are coming in trying to tell you what you can and can't do. You know, they don't even live here. You know, versus people who are from the community. And urban areas, I think, have had to suffer with that a lot. But most urban police departments are now making an effort to kind of, you know, gather their recruits from within the community, people who live closer and have a vested interest in the policing of that particular area. And I think that may solve some problems. I don't think it's going to solve all the problems. And I honestly think too, it's got to be education on both sides. We got to kind of get the fear of police out of one area from the police side, and we got to get the fear of police out from the people who've been victimized, which are the minority communities. And, you know, we have to kind of rebuild those relationships. And when we do, we'll be successful. But until then, everybody's going to just be in this tense moment of, I don't know, you're waiting for the next black man to get killed so we can start marching in the streets.
Yeah, that actually brings up a good point. I was having a conversation with a courtesy officer back in Maryland when I was working at Lowe's, and he and I were discussing, you know, policing in America and the perception of police. And he said that he thinks that the perception of police started on a decline, and that the issues really started to escalate when they took police officers off the streets from walking among the neighborhoods and putting them in cars, so that, you know, anytime you saw a police car, you associate that with something bad. And I think it's true, because anytime I see a police car, you know, I don't think, oh, here's someone that's serving the community. I'm like, man, I'm fucking get a ticket for some bullshit, or here we go. You know, am I 2 miles over the speed limit? It's always a negative connotation that is attached to it. And so I think to some degree he has a point, but we really never got a chance because I was at work. But to really get into the core of the issue for me is that there is a fraternity there that is there to uphold certain values that aren't in the best interest of the average person. And so that interest is looking to one another as brother and sister and protecting one another, obviously, but it just so happens to come at the cost of the citizens who not a part of that fraternity. And this is the same thing that you see a lot in the military with people who have pre-written sworn statements just in case someone gets accidentally murdered, so that everyone's stories jive together. And it's a reason I mentioned that, is because I've been actually informed how it works. And so these things people know, that people aren't stupid now. You know, there are former police officers that will tell you that there's vast systems to cover up things when something goes awry, rather than having integrity.
Hey, Drag, I got to tell you, this is not a protected conversation. Let's not, admit to committing any felonies on this motherfucker.
I haven't.
like they told me where the bodies are buried. I'm not going to tell you who, but I was in the Army.
I will never have that situation. I was never deployed. I was simply informed by someone, I'm not going to say his name, as to how it works, because I was actually curious.
Well, don't be hopefully they won't be subpoenaing you. Excuse me. Can you please raise your right hand? Now, when you said this, play that video. When you said this, who the fuck was you talking about?
It's like, no, not today, not today.
Oh my
But
God.
shit, yeah, but that's the issue. And my cousin, my cousin here is a police officer, and he is very, very much so invested in trying to expose nonsense. Like he'll be the first person to put up something about his police. The what's her name? Amber Guyver, the lady who walked in a dude's house supposedly, supposedly his apartment. They live in the same apartment, and his door was cracked.
Yeah,
Allegedly, and then she just walked in because she was tired and thought it was his fucking door. And it's like, bitch, I've been up. I'm sorry, I should have said that. I've been up 4 hours straight. Okay,
Politically correctness.
when I heard that bullshit, let me tell you why. I've been up for more than 24 hours. Never in my life have I walked into someone else's fucking house.
Well, you know what though? I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to say that shit happened to me. That shit happened to me going to my own home. Now I was living at the same spot for like 10 years, and I always lived on the same floor. But for some reason, you know how you always take the elevator from the bottom to the top? You never take it the opposite way down? So I went to go see a friend on the top floor, and I took the elevator down, and I just misjudged it. So I was on the one floor above where I was usually at. I went to the apartment, put my key in. Now, you know how now here in New York, the buildings sometimes give out the keys. For some reason, I had like a master key, and I didn't know it. And when I used my key, it opened up the door, and I went into the house and was like, oh, shit, this isn't my house. And I literally walked out of the house. It was like, oh, shit, I have a master key. And I went to the super. I'm like, you guys gave me a master key. And he's like, oh, shit, this is a master key. You can open up all the doors in here. And I was like, oh. But that's actually happened to me where I actually went to the wrong house and opened up the door and went in. It was somebody else's apartment.
How do you get a mass? That was a systemic fuck up.
That was yes.
The only time I accidentally walked in someone's house, or apartment rather, is when I was high as hell during Hurricane Gustav, and I wasn't all there.
Damn, how many hurricanes have you like avoided? You like Hurricane Gustav, Hurricane White, Hurricane Nate.
Well, they all wet.
They're very wet.
The wettest of all time.
Of water, I would have to say, Katrina was pretty doggone wet. She was wet.
From the standpoint of water,
she was moist. Very moist.
Wasn't as wet. Yo, so you guys ready for this? What's going on?
Let's go.
We good?
Let's do it. So if I'm not mistaken, the last time you guys were talking, it was something to the tune of what the God in the Bible adheres to, or what he promotes, I should say, as far as certain races or certain ethnicities and what they can and can't do. Certain folks being enslaved, and certain folks not being enslaved. And am I a little accurate with that?
I was about to do the whole Michael Buffer in this corner weighing, but we'll go right into the debate. We want to be formal here.
Let's get some verses. Let's get some. What was one of the verses? I think you said Numbers was not one of the verses that we were looking at.
I can't.
Hold on, we got to recap for something. Go ahead.
Numbers we were talking about. Actually, I was talking about in that particular segment. I was talking about the God of the Bible actually ordering Moses to kill women and children of the Canaanite nation, the Amalekites, and things of that nature. And I can't remember what G-Con said. G-Con said something about, G-Con said that, I remember exactly what I said. It was number 6, I think. And G-Con was saying that we were just talking about the God of the Bible. And I told him that this God actually ordered to kill him, women and children, but he kept virgins alive. And I think G-Con didn't know that or something. I told him to read the verse, something like that. And then we ended that show because we was out of time. But I guess the subject now is God basically a racist, the God of the Bible, per se?
It's a pretty strong statement. So let's go ahead and let G-Con respond to that.
Introduce G-Con, people who don't know him much, right?
Oh, actually, yeah, let me do it. Hey, if y'all did not watch last week's episode, hey, you know what?
It wasn't last week.
It was week before. Man, I was high as hell. I'm sorry.
Right.
Look, week before last, yeah. So week before last, if y'all didn't know, I just came from California and they got some good weed. But week before last, all right, G-Con was there. Yeah, if y'all seen my channel, y'all seen G-Con. He's gonna tell it like it is. He's not gonna, hold hold his tongue for nobody. You know, he is about his business. He is a Christian. He's doing his own thing against the Black Hebrew Israelites and anybody else who want to come and step. So you know what? You got a lot of respect for him. That's why he's on here. So folks, if y'all not familiar with his channel, I'm gonna link it in the sidebar in a few minutes. But G-Con, feel free to introduce yourself, man, and get right into it.
All right, cool, man. Thank you guys for having me on here. As the brother said, I'm a Christian. You know what I'm saying, my page, he putting it all in there on the side link. G Consciousness. Consciousness is spelled with a K. Yeah, for the most part, yeah. We had an interesting topic the last time, and I was kind of going in and out a lot. Well, not kind of, but a lot. And so we talked about one of the things we touched on with this topic is, is God a racist? And I don't see the Bible as really, showing that God is a racist. And I really was looking for the brother to kind of, bring some of those things out, because I didn't see that in the Bible, so that's basically what I was doing, for him to confirm his position, actually to really prove it, that racism is actually in the Bible. And as I stated, before, so everybody can know, when we look at the Bible, God is a spirit. And so those that worship God, worship him in the spirit and truth. And so if you're going by the narrative of the Bible, you say that God is a racist, I believe there's a plethora of scriptures that shows God not to be a racist. And more so of God, what he is when it comes to mankind, what is God's plan for mankind overall, rather than just what we see with Israel. And so I'm just looking for the brother to actually prove his stance and go through some of the scriptures that he got, and let's get into it.
Okay, y'all ready?
Let's do it. All right, he's put it out there.
All right. Well, that's one thing I want to address. What he said. First, I want to address the topic: God being a racist, and this is coming from the viewpoint of God even being hypothetically real. Okay, so we're just going to argue from the point that the God of the Bible is real. But from what he just said, and he seemed like a very intelligent brother, he said that as a plethora, he used the term plethora of verses, the point of God being, I guess, for all mankind and for love. Well, the thing about this, anybody who studied the Bible, not even with intent study, basically knows that the Bible is full of contradictions. In one place it'd say here about love, and in one place it'd say something about hate. So because the Bible being written by so many different authors, first of all, we have to understand this issue. The Bible is written by so many different people. Nobody knows who wrote the Bible. Nobody knows how many different authors it was. There was never any original copies from this Bible. So we don't really have a lot of information about the mindset of the writers of the Bible. But of course, as a Christian or believer or whatever the person may be, they believe that this God, and G-Con just referred to God as being a spirit. Whatever spirit is, we have no idea what a spirit is. No one has ever gave a definitive definition or coherent definition of a spirit. So I don't know how to actually even correspond to what a spirit could be or what it is be. Only thing I can say, as far as a coherent definition of spirit, is something that we have no idea, either atheists nor theists. We don't know what a spirit is. But when we talk about, I want to ask G-Con something before I start. When we talk about, let me cut this down. When we talk about God, and we talk about the Bible, and we talk about, believers believe that God is the authority of the Bible. So I want to ask you this before I even go any further, and y'all cut me off whenever y'all want to do this, or whatever, however y'all want to do the time thing, Drag. But I want to ask you a question first, G-Con. I want to ask you a couple of questions. Do you believe that prayer works? Do you believe that God answers the afflicted, like the Bible says?
Yeah, I believe that, the prayer does work. Sometimes you just have to wait longer than expected, but sometimes, I believe it does work.
Okay, that was an honest answer. Well, just coming from a historical point of view, then I'm going to dig into the Bible because I have so many different verses I want to get into. I even brought my favorite Bible right here. This is one of my favorite ones, leather edition, red leather edition, by the way. So I'm going to get into a lot of verses. But this is the first thing I want to say. And G-Con just answered the question. And he answered, I think, honestly. He said he believed prayer works, but it might take longer than it should. Well, this is obvious when it comes to the African slave trade. You think about slaves. So I'm just talking about the American slave trade, that what we know about what happened to us in this country. I don't think prayer was ever answered in that particular era. Because when we talk about as God of races, this is a point I have to drive home here. What I mean by races, whatever term we want to term races, or was God indifferent to Africans? Did he care about us? I'm sure there were plenty of us who prayed during the 16th century and the 17th century and the 18th century. Plenty of people prayed when babies were getting cut out of black women's stomachs, even though they were forced into believing in the Christianity. And this is why I kind of even, I really don't understand why intelligent black people even Christian this day, especially being in America and understanding this history. But prayer, obviously, if we were enslaved from the 16th and 15th century all the way to basically 1865, what we know of this history, and even longer than that, and we know Jim Crow laws took the place of slavery, just like sharecropping took the place of free labor here in the South. What honor or what did it show for prayer? It had to show that white Christians and the Bible was always used to show that slavery was something that was ordained by the God of the Bible. The verses that they used, even people like Paul Sennett of the Christian Coalition in the 17th century, the 18th century, the Pope, they always used biblical verses. Timothy, matter of fact, I'm gonna read some of these verses so we can get some clarity. I don't want to just be claiming nothing. He said he want me to show. Matthew 10:24, for example, let me get my book. Matthew 10:24 says, a disciple is not above his teacher, nor a slave above the master. Now, above the master, above, this word above in the Greek is herpe. Now I'm going to give the Greek, the Greek number so y'all can go and look at this. It's in a Strong Concordance is G5228. Above meaning in a context, in the genitive case of Greek, I know a lot of y'all might not understand Greek, the genitive case or accusative case as far as Greek context, but it's used as above. It's translation in a lot of the KJV, NSV, a lot of NIVs. It says above slave, but it's actually meaning equal. It said the slave shouldn't be equal to the master. Now, what is the Greek term used for slave? It's called doulos. Doulos means slave, one who gives free labor. You look this up. Its Greek term, its Greek number is G1408. Now, for God to say that he's equal across the line, it's funny to me that God, and I know you say you're a Christian, G-Con, and Jesus Christ, and I know you don't think slavery is a good thing. I know you believe that slavery is an immoral thing. So I won't even ask you that question because I don't want to insult your intelligence. But for a Christian to believe, black and white these days, they say they believe that slavery was an immoral institution. Even the Caucasians, the slave masters of the 17th, 18th century called slavery a peculiar institution. Why did Jesus, or God of the Bible, never, ever, once, not one time did they ever speak against this institution? They never spoke against slavery. They used the term slave. So slavery was an idea that was basically backed up by the New Testament. Then I'm going to go to the Old Testament. Matthew 24, 15 to 46. I want to read this too.
Well, hold on, Imp, you give him a lot to respond to before we can get.
Okay, well, that was.
Then now you go on to the next one.
I got a lot to get into, dude. I'm finna unleash this thing, so I'm telling y'all to give me a time period.
Yeah, so not a time period, but let's go through topics right now. You about to go to verse 2 right now. I'm still trying to get wrapped.
Okay, go ahead.
I know I'm trying to get wrapped up on verse 1.
Give us a summation. Let's give us a summation,
Yeah.
Nate.
Okay.
But go ahead, G-Con.
Yeah, overall, basically, was you asking a question in particular that something about slavery you was talking about?
Yeah, it's just one thing I mentioned about slavery, yeah.
Because you kind of went into a plethora of things. Did you want to pull something out specifically, a direct question or something?
Well, no,
Yeah, think of this more like a conversation, not a debate.
I built up the point. I was making a point about God. How could a God? And I started off with the example of prayer, but I asked you, did you believe in the power of prayer? And I built up my point of our ancestors. Surely they was praying to a God, whatever God they was praying to, and whatever time period. But obviously those prayers were never answered because obviously God showed favor to the white slave master. Now, if you say that God didn't show favor to the white slave masters, and these white slave masters had this Bible that you believe in today, to back up why slavery should continue to be an institution.
Right. Well,
that's basically what I'm saying.
Okay, so first of all, just understanding the purpose of God in the beginning, according to the narrative of the Bible. When you look at Genesis, the first thing that God chose for man to do is he gave them administration. And so he said he wanted them to have, dominion, and he wanted them to rule and reign with him, according to the Bible. And so then later on, he says everything is good, all is good, all is good. Well, where did it go bad at? With man's choice and decisions. So with his choice and his decisions, it changed his environment. And so once his environment is changed, then man gets this type of mentality where he's on this beastly mentality to where he has to, things are degenerate. The atmosphere is changing. His environment is different. So he's playing a role of should he kill to eat, or should he maintain some of his spiritual significance that attaches him back to God. And what I mean by that is his conscience, which is a joint knowledge with God. And so when you look at what you're talking about for slavery is basically that comes from man and his choice and his decision. So overall, because there's a shortage of something, we see that there's a shortage in the earth, and we see what man do is they take what you call tributaries, or what they take are servants, whether they're indentured servants or whether they're are servants to where they get it's some type of labor for them to for their living, the labor for them to be housed or something like that. But for the most part, that's what we see in the scriptures. Now, this thing is not coming from culturally from just a European perspective, but mainly a Middle Eastern just as well as an African perspective. Because when you look in Africa, we see the same thing going on with servitude, or even to the point to where where people are still slaves, which Israel was not allowed to do those type of things just as well. And so when you look at what slavery is, or what servitude is mainly what we see today. But Europeans took it on a whole nother level, as well as also when you look in the Middle East on how people treated their servants. The Bible is clear that, a person was not allowed to treat their servant in a certain manner, to where we see that they was to be stealing servants, first of all, wounding servants to the point to where they're unto death. Now, it was clear that if a servant did do something that he should never did, even as being an Israelite, there was certain things that took place, certain consequences that took place behind that. So I think that ultimately what we're looking at is that because man has chosen to do certain things mentally, naturally, then we see that that these mental choices cause them to lack, and because of that lack, we see that there is servitude that is there. But ultimately, God's goal, when you look at the ending, there is God is getting to the point to where there's not going to be that type of what we see of people lacking and people had to kill each other. But we are going through what we see now, test this to see how will we respond. Will we live like an animal? Will we kill each other to do those very things? And will we follow instructions? So I think that those people, they was praying for the most part, but we don't know what went forth also, in their ancestry. You know what I'm saying? Because God is real clear when it comes to sowing and reaping. The laws of sowing and reaping is definitely something that where they call in the East karma, things that come around. We don't know any of those things. As far as the white man, you saying using the Bible, where people use science to destroy each other, that doesn't make the science necessarily bad. What happens is it makes it where the people who are using certain things to basically they can be even good principles or even bad principles, but they're using something to overcome somebody rather, and we see that with science all day long. So for the most part, I think that it's just it's servitude because of a lack of things. And you say, well, why do God allow that? Well, God can't change everybody. In other words, and He knows that. So if God if he goes into a country and he sent them into, like you say, the Canaanites, and the Canaanites, they don't want to change their habits. Well, what God do, he makes them tributaries, and they become what you call servants or servitude. But the Bible says that a servant can also get above their master in the Old Testament. And if they do get above their master, we see that, that after a certain amount of time, a Jew, if he, he can be, pulled apart from them after 7 years or whatever they call it. But so that's how I would answer that, to be honest. There is servitude in that. And we see that there because of a shortage in this world.
Okay. Okay. All right, G-Con. I respect that answer, but I have to, because I have to politely slice it. First of all, I would like for us to, so the dialogue can be clear. Like when you say you quoted something from the Old Testament, if you could bring up the verse so we could actually go over it, because I'm going to bring verses. I'm not going to be speaking out of my ass. I'm going to bring verses. And the reason, because a lot of people claim to be Christians, and I was Christian most of my life. I actually went to biblical school. But a lot of people claim to understand the Bible and understand Bible verses, but they'll read an isolated verse because they don't understand biblical interpretation. They don't understand biblical hermeneutics. So I think it's only right for us, if we're going to point out a verse, we'll point out a verse. And what I'll do when I point out a verse, let's get that verse in context. And the only way you can understand a biblical verse in context is actually read the whole paragraph. Because we know that the Bible is chopped up. Well, I don't know if you know, but the Bible is chopped up. A lot of chapters and verses and numbers were added to these particular texts. So a lot of things have to be read in context, even following from other chapters. So I want to answer you on what you said about the servitude thing. And I don't know if you know any Hebrew or anything like that.
But before you get into it, I just want to ask one thing, just so it doesn't become a bar to the conversation. If G-Con doesn't know the exact verse, you can say it, and we can see if we can all remember what verse it was. Because sometimes he may want to say a verse, but not know exactly the verse. You know what I mean? So
we can do. I can do that. No problem.
All right.
But I want to answer his main thing because he mentioned the term servitude like 7 or 8 times. And when I debated the Catholic guy who was on Steve McCrae's channel, he kept doing the same
Pope
thing.
Francis.
Yes, Pope Francis. He kept making this same mistake about trying to make indentured servitude or servitude in the Bible the same as akash, which is slavery. And this is a problem a lot of Christians I talk to, they try to do. The thing about it, and another thing he said that it was,
I mentioned 3 types of servants. I mentioned 3.
Right, yes. But I'm talking about slaves here, and I want to stick to the point of why I say God is racist and why God. I want to make sure we stick to the main point, and I'm going to show this in the Bible, the Torah and the New Testament, why I say the God that you believe in chose other people over other people. As far as before I do that, I want to go back to what you said about slavery. You said you actually used a bad excuse, which is terrible, and I hate to see brothers uses excuse, especially when we talk about slavery in this country. It's pathetic to me, and it's intellectual dishonesty for you to say that you think our ancestors, well, maybe you made an excuse. You said, well, maybe God didn't answer their prayer because maybe it was something in their ancestry. That's bad, brother. First of all, that's a generalization, and the thing about it, you tried to blame slavery. You actually used the excuse for the white man and our ancestors, basically. You said that, well, slavery is not about God. This is something that man instituted. Well, this is the issue. If you believe, and I don't know what you believe about God as far as your theology, but I think you believe what the rest of theology teaches, that God is omniscient, meaning he's all-knowing, he's omnipotent, all-powerful, and he's omnibenevolent, for all love. I think you probably believe this about your biblical God, as most Christians do. And if you believe those 3 particular titles about this biblical God, then you already know, first of all 3 use your intelligence, those contradictory terms for this God, because he can't be all of them at the same time. That could be another debate. But for you to say that man chose slavery, this means that God, basically you saying that God had no say-so in it. He looked down on the prayers of our people and said, hey, since the white man has all the power, I'm going to keep allowing him to do this to you. This is basically what you're saying. So we can use the same thing now, but all the black mothers praying for their black kids, getting shot out here by gang members, getting shot out here by police. We say the same thing. Well, man chose to do this. Society chose to do this. The prison system in America is full of black because man chose to do this. So basically, we can just take God out of the equation. There's no reason to have God in the equation if we're going to just say man has the power to institute his own things. And God, the all-powerful deity who you believe made the universe, has no say-so. But the second thing I want to address, and I'm going to let you get the mic again. You say you spoke about 3 different servitudes. I don't know if you actually know what these servitudes are, but I'm going to find them for you. I'm going to give you the Hebrew one. First of all, when we go to Leviticus 25, Leviticus 25 tells the whole story. We know Leviticus priesthood under the so-called Aaron and his brother Moshe. God actually installed a law. This is God. This is not man. This is your God of the Bible who actually created a slavery law. And I'm going to read this so everybody can see this. It's Leviticus 25. I'm going to start at the 39th verse. And this is the law. This is a law. And we know what the word law in Hebrew means, Torah. It says, and if one of your brother in this particular context, I'm going to read the whole thing so we get the whole context, meaning your Hebrew brother. He said, and if one of your brother who dwells by you becomes poor and sells himself to you, you shall compel him to serve as a slave. Okay? Now, this is the 40th verse. As a hired servant and a sojourner, he shall be with you and shall serve you until the year Jubilee. And I don't know if you're familiar with the year Jubilee, but that Jubilee represented a 50-year thing that the Israelites used to do. Now, I'm gonna go back over this Hebrew in a minute. And then he shall depart from you. So in other words, if this Hebrew brother, this Israelite brother was poor, he could come work for you, and he could be under your servitude until the year Jubilee. And then after the Jubilee, he go on his own way. This is one type of servitude. And then he shall depart from you, he and his children with him, and shall return to his own family. He shall return to the possessions of his fathers, for they are my servants. Servants, that word is abadah, which doesn't mean hard-on slavery. That's one servant. Whom I brought out of the land of Egypt, they shall not be sold as slaves. You shall not rule over him with rigor, but you shall fear your God. And as for your male and female slaves, whom you may have from the nations. Now, this term nations in the Hebrew is golana. It's the same Greek word that is used for nations as goyi in the Greek as Gentiles. It's the same term. This means people that are non-Hebrew. It says, from the nations that are around you, from them you may buy male and female slaves. Slaves, ebed, meaning slave, free labor. You can do what you want to these slaves. Moreover, you may buy the children of the strangers, these mean non-Hebrews, who dwell among you and their families who are with you, which they beget in your land, and they shall become your property. And you may take them as an inheritance for your children after you, to inherit them as a possession. They shall be your permanent slaves. But regarding, now I want y'all to listen good. But regarding your brethren, meaning your Hebrews, the children of Israel, you shall not rule over one another with right. Now, I want to stop right here. This particular verse I just read clearly shows that there was a difference in servitude between the Hebrew Israelites. Totally different Hebrew words, ebed and obada. These are totally different Hebrew words. One saying, hey, he's poor, let him serve till the year Jubilee. But then God in this particular verse gives you particular order, but you cannot treat them like you treat the strangers. So in other words, who are the strangers? The strangers were the nations, the Goyed. In other words, the children of Israel, God was racist towards these other strangers. He did not seek equal rights between the Israelites and between these other people. In other words, he said that you could use these slaves and actually transfer them as a possession to the church. And this is what happened during American black slavery. A father slave master would die. Guess what? The slave, your great-grandmother, great-grandfather, was passed on down to the children. This is slavery. That is not racial equality. Now, I know you believe in racial equality, and your God is not about racial equality in that. But that's it for now. I got some more. Got a lot more.
Right. So in regards to that right now, as you see, like you said, that's two types of slaveries that you see right there. One of them we see it from a heathen, right? It comes and might into the land, they might go to war with them and they take the heathen as slaves.
Excuse me. Stop. Hold on. No. This wasn't about heathens. It's not about heathens.
Actually, that's what.
No, this is not what these verses are about.
No,
I don't want you. No, listen to me, G-Con. I don't want you to change the narrative. This was not about heathens coming into your land. This was about strangers' lands that the Israelites possessed. In other words,
no, hold on, brother. What scripture did you say that again? Let's go to the scripture.
Leviticus 25.
Leviticus 25.
Go read it.
And what verse?
Start at 39.
Okay, start at 39. All right, so look what it says. It says, all right, it says, I am the Lord your God, which brought you forth out of the land of Egypt to give you the land of Canaan. It says, and to be your God. And if thy brother that dwelleth by thee be waxen poor and be sold unto thee, thou shalt not compel him to serve as a bond servant, right? You know what a bond servant is? It says you should not compel him to serve as a bond servant, but as an hired servant. So this is one servant. There's a hired servant and there's a bond servant.
I just read that. I just gave you the Hebrew for it.
All right, cool. So it says, with thee, and shall serve thee until the year of Jubilee, for as the hired servant. And then shall he depart from thee, but he and his children with him, and shall return unto his family, and unto the possession of his father shall he return. For they are my servants, which I brought forth out of the land of Egypt. They shall not be sold as bondmen. It says, thou shalt not rule over him with vigor, but shall fear thy God. Both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids which thou should have shall be of the heathen that are round you, that are round about you, of them. Shall ye buy of bondmen and bondsmen and bondmaids, right? So the heathen that is around them, right?
Okay, hold on. What do you know what that word used for heathen?
What is it? What is it?
I just told you what it was. This is why I tell you.
Is it right?
It's the same word that in a lot of translations you'll see as nations. See,
so why do you have a problem with me saying heathen then?
But because you tried to change the narrative as if
I didn't say heathen. What are you talking about?
Okay, I'm asking you. Do you know what that Hebrew word means?
What is it? Is it goyim? What is it? Goyim?
Yes. What does that word mean?
I mean, it means what we see in the New Testament.
It means non-Jew. It simply means non-Jew, nation.
Well, it doesn't necessarily have to mean a non-Jew either. It also can mean a Jew too. It's also
no. That word. Show me anywhere in the Torah tonight where that word is translated as a Jew. Show me that.
Okay, well let's look at it then. Watch what it says.
No, I asked you to show me where that word is ever translated.
I'm about to show you. Like I'm going to pull out the blue letter Bible right now. It's clear, right? It's nations. Look what it says.
Okay, nations, exactly.
Right, and so Israel's a nation. So there is a goyim.
That's what I said, brother. I told you that. That is the proper definition of that word.
So why are you saying if Israel's a nation, Israel called a nation? Why are you saying they can't be called a goyim?
Listen, once again, this particular term is used in the Bible for non-Jews. That's why it says the nations among you. And you have to understand Hebrew. And I know you don't understand Hebrew thought, and that's okay. You don't have to understand Hebrew thought. But in this particular genitive Hebrew case of the grammar, it means non-Jew. And everywhere else in the Tanakh, where it's at, it always means non-Jew, not Israelites, not Benjamites, not nobody. It means non-Jew. That's the point I'm making.
Right. And that, listen, I'm telling you, because you're saying that I don't understand the Hebrew. I'm telling you that the word goyim is used of Gentiles, but it also can be used just as well as also Israelites.
Okay, but in this context, this is why I actually get you understand.
When I said heathen, why are you having a problem with it?
I don't have a problem with that. It's that the way you tried to change the narrative, as if these people tried to invade the Israelites, and that's why they became slaves.
I said the heathen around about them. That's what I said.
Okay, so I'm trying to figure out what's the point you're trying to make about it.
Okay, I was trying to make the point, but you cut me off because you got mad because I said heathen.
No, I get mad because you're changing the narrative of. Okay, go ahead, make your point. I want you to make your point.
Let's let G-Con finish. Let's let G-Con finish a little bit.
All right, I said heathen. It just says heathen there. Good Lord.
Finish your point, G-Con.
All right, cool. All right, so listen, before I was rudely interrupted, let me go to where I need to go to. All right, so we was in Leviticus, right? Let's go back.
That's where we was at.
All right, let's go back there. Hold on. All right. So we was was it 41 or what was I? Where did I leave out? Okay, rigor. It says, "Thou shalt not rule over him with rigor, but shall fear thy God, both thy bondmen and thy bondsmaids, which thou should have, shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them shall ye buy bondmen and bondsmaid. Moreover, of the children of the strangers that do sojourn among you, of them shall ye buy." Now, notice it says them that sojourn among you. You notice it says that?
Okay.
I noticed how you put a little extra flair on heathen, though. I like the way you put a little extra flair on heathen.
That's good. I like heathen. Yeah. But make your point, G-Con. Go ahead, make your point.
Okay, so what I'm saying is this is the heathen that is sojourning among Israel. All right? So let's continue.
What about it?
All right, so let's continue. Because it ain't like these people just these are those who join to Israel. Because there's two types of people that join to Israel. Those who are circumcised to join to Israel, which are one people.
Well, but that's not the subject tonight. Hold
on. But you're talking about it, so I got it. What you rocking for?
That's not the subject. We're talking about your God being racist and treating.
Right. Okay. But listen, if you mention that, I gotta show you this. Now listen.
Okay, keep reading.
Okay, so all right, so let's continue on. There's a heathen that is sojourning among them. Now hold on. Let me go back to it. All right. And ye shall take them. Well, hold on. I'm sorry. Moreover, of the children of the strangers that do sojourn among you, of them shall ye buy, and of their families that are with you, which they begot in your land, and they shall be your possession. And ye shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you, to inherit them for a possession. They shall be your bondman forever. But over your children, over your brethren, the children of Israel, ye shall not rule one over another with rigor. Right? That's what it says. Now look what it says, 47. Now, if a sojourner or a stranger wax rich by thee, notice he says wax rich by thee. So you got a problem right there, because it just told you that a sojourner, or a stranger can wax rich by thee. So evidently, somebody getting paid or somebody getting some type of income here, first of all. So
okay, hold up, G-Con, you're getting emotional. First of all, that I want you to keep just reading on through 47 and 50. That has nothing to do. This has absolutely nothing to do, and this is why I want to stick to the topic, because I'm not going to let you change the narrative. This is what most Christians do. This has nothing to do with your God. You just read these verses, and you didn't say nothing about them, about what God commanded them to do to the heathens around them. They can enslave them and pass them down to their children. You said nothing about that.
Let me speak on that now. Now, first of all, here's the thing.
Now, keep skipping over stuff, yeah.
Now let me speak on that. Now, first of all, let's look at this. Now, if I am in a land, right, and we got people that is around us, and we see what the Canaanites was doing, and if the Canaanites was doing,
what were they doing, G-Con? What were Canaanites doing?
The Bible says it was clear what they was doing.
We need to get some explanation. What are they doing?
The Bible says that they shed much blood in the land, warned against other nations, all types of crazy stuff. Did not say that?
Oh, so the Israelites didn't never do that?
Hey, guess what? Israelites brought the judgment on them for doing those things.
Okay, now you know what? This is what I want you to do, G-Con, and I want you to keep reading 47, 48, and 49. Well, how far you gonna read just to show how disconnected it is from our debate tonight. Now, you just said that the Israelites brought judgments on the Canaanites, right?
Yep.
Okay. Who gave them the right to do that?
Hey, guess what? Just like the same right that the nation.
I guess, tell me.
Just like the same right what the nations do today, same, it's no different. So listen, now here's the thing. Overall, here's the thing. Now,
hold
on. Me and you we have what you call objective. There's objective morality. There is subjective morality. Now, here's the thing. Now, you have in you what you call a conscience. Would you agree to that?
Say that again. Ask me that.
You know what a conscience is?
Yeah. What about it?
Do you know what it is?
Yes.
What is it?
What do you want it to be? A conscience is something.
I'm asking you, what is it?
It's something that is immaterial. That's what it is.
Okay, so what do scientists say about it? Do they have anything to say about it?
What do you say about it?
Well, let me give you a definition.
What do you think it is?
Let me give you a definition so you can see what it is then.
Where's the definition coming from?
Because in order for you to say what's right and wrong, you got a conscience, brother.
Oh, okay. So in other words, I can't say what is right and wrong, right?
Who are you? Whose standard is you messing that up to?
Okay, so guess what? You see what you just asked me? You see what you just asked me, right? Show you how you cut your own throat right here. Well, who standards did the Israelites? Whose standards did they use to judge the Canaanites?
Guess what? The intelligent designer, the one we came from.
Oh my God! See, this is where you run into a brick wall.
Now watch this. Now hold on. Let me give you this definition.
Oh, hold up, stop. Before you give me the definition.
No. I want to give you the definition, brother.
Okay, go ahead. Give me the definition of consciousness.
And look what it says.
And where you reading it from? What dictionary?
I'm going to pull it up right now.
Or you look on Google? Well, Google it. Whatever you want to do.
Let's see. Let's look at Webster and see what Webster said about it. All right. So it says, the sense of consciousness of the moral goodness or blameworthiness of one's own conduct, intentions, or character, together with a feeling of obligation to do right or to be good, right? It says she had a guilty conscience, a faculty, a faculty, power, or principle enjoining good acts. Now, what I want you to key in on, the prefix con is to be joint with, right? Right?
Okay, well, make your point, sir.
Okay, so science is what? Knowledge. So you have joint knowledge. Now, the thing about it is who do you have this joint knowledge with? That's the thing. Now, let's continue on looking at what
it's saying. Stop. That's the thing about what?
Did we have joint knowledge? Guess what? Which is
from
called
what? Joint knowledge. What does this have to do with the verses you just read?
I'm going to show you what it has to do with because
because you're losing me. Okay, go ahead.
I asked you what is the conscience, right?
Okay, and you just asked me definitions.
You asked me what standard do I measure this conscience? I mean, do I measure good and right by?
Yeah, but you weren't there when they killed the Canaanites. You weren't there, so I asked you about.
I know. Listen, I'm asking you what listen. I'm only telling you what the narrative say. Are we going by the narrative or what?
Yeah, you are. Okay, come on, yeah.
Hold on. If we're not going by the narrative, then what are you arguing with about? Because I
see this. Okay.
I'm with the Bible, and I'm giving you the narrative of the Bible. Now, what are you arguing?
Okay, go ahead. Finish the narrative. And you don't have to holler. You don't have to scream. We're right here.
Well, I'm sorry because I'm talking into this thing. But listen, all I'm saying is, listen, the conscience is very important. Now, you ask me what standard do I measure that by? The word conscience within itself is joint knowledge. So who do you have this joint knowledge with? So if we all sitting here and we have something, and you say this is only with the mind, that's what you said, or it's immaterial, but it's there though. Is it not there? So it's manifested in the natural realm because it's there, because how we relate to each other. So whether you like it or not, that natural thing that spiritual thing that you see, or what you say is immaterial, is still is manifested in the natural world, which is the material.
Okay. All right, G-Con, let me ask you this, G-Con. What does any of that have to do with your God? And we're going to stick with the narrative. Telling the Israelites that they can have slaves among the nations or heathens or whatever English interpretation you want to use. What does that have to do with any of that?
I'm gonna tell you what it has to do with, because number one is this, you got to understand, and this is why I keep telling you.
Okay. Before you, so you think God is so in other words, God and Israelites to do what they want to do. That's basically what you're telling me.
No, I'm saying God can do what He want to do in His own house. You do what you want to do in your own house, right?
That's terrible. Okay, go ahead. Finish. Go ahead.
All right, so that's what I'm saying. So anyway, if God telling these people to stop doing something according to the narrative in the Bible, and they keep doing it, and He's saying judgments upon them, how is He wrong for doing that?
First of all, are you talking about the Canaanites since we sticking to the narrative?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Okay, all right, okay, cool. Let's stick to the narrative. What did God send them some type of warning and judgments to tell them to stop doing what they were doing?
Yeah, He's saying them. Look what He says. Let's go to the scripture and look at it.
Go ahead.
Let's go to Genesis chapter 10.
No, you can't go to Genesis. You got to stick with Leviticus.
Why am I sticking with Leviticus? You asked about the nations, right?
This is the context of what we're reading from now. You're going back to a whole nother time period now.
Well, I'm showing you where the Amorites and all that stuff at. Remember,
Amorites, that's a different tribe. You do know that, right?
Right. Amorites and Canaanites, I'm telling you, before they went into the land, they was told already about these people.
Okay, go ahead. I'm going to let you go to it. Go ahead. Go ahead.
They was told about these people in Genesis, one thing.
Okay, so, go ahead. If you can't find it, probably talking about Genesis 16. Go ahead.
All right, so let's look at it. All right. All right, okay, so Genesis 17. Yeah, it might be Genesis 16 or 17. Okay, here it is right here.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's where it's at. Told you.
This brief intermission is brought to y'all by Skin So Soft. Skin So Soft.
Skin So Soft.
Not feel like an alligator's ass. Go find some at your local CVS or just steal it out of Walmart like everybody else does. You ready, G-Con?
Okay, cool. So Genesis chapter 15, that's what it is.
You're right.
When you look at Genesis 15, it says in where is it at? 13. Okay. It said, and he said unto Abraham, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve, I will judge. Afterwards, they shall come out with great substance. It says, and thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. But here it is. Where it is. I'm going to go down to the nitty-gritty.
Was that it?
Verse 16. It says, but in the fourth generation, they shall come hither again. It says, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full, right? That's what it says. So hold on. So what God is doing, he gave them 400 years of space and time, his grace and his long suffering to repent. 400 years he gave them. And he didn't judge them right then and there. He said, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. So he's giving them space and time. Now understand, it took Abraham, it took the children of Israel 400 years to get to these guys. And they still was doing the same thing once Israel came up out of Egypt. Same thing.
You know, hey, G-Con, you do know, I mean, I don't know how long you've been studying the Bible, but you do know that all biblical scholars,
250
those verses are particularly speaking about Egypt and not particularly Joshua and them going into the Canaan. You mixing up verses. You do know that, right?
The whole sojourn was 430 years, but they stayed in Egypt 250 years. I know all of those arguments. What do you?
But the point, but by you reading that, and by you saying, and you read that verse, but it says about the Amorites not being time not being up. That still does not say that God came and warned them or sent them prophets or did anything like that. So you are basically making an excuse that God can do whatever he wants. He can just take land and kill people because he obviously, according to you and your misinterpretation of reading these verses, you think he actually gave them a fair chance to, I guess, to convert into his belief. And you think that justifies him going and killing women and children and enslaving nations. And by the way, G-Con, the term Goyi is not just speaking particularly about Canaanites. This means not just Canaanites, because Canaanite has his own Hebrew word. So what we just read in Leviticus 25 through 48, it's talking about any sojourner that was around the Hebrew Israelites that they could enslave, male and female. Do you understand that?
And who is it? Right? Is exactly.
The point I'm making is not just talking about Amorites. That's right.
Listen, I don't have a problem with that. That's why I said. That's why I said the word Goy.
Cool. All right. Cool.
You know what I'm saying? And so look, regardless of how you feel or what you feel about this, when you look at the text, would I be able to give you an extra biblical source from Josephus concerning why things was like it was far as the nations?
Josephus, listen, man. Josephus was a historian who was, he wasn't a biblical scholar. So
he got history though. He was a historian.
I read Antiquities 3 or 4 times, and nothing Josephus can say that will corroborate the biblical as being a true tale of history. So I mean,
well, okay, well, so we ain't even gonna go there. But bottom line is this: when you start looking at
hey, be my guest. Read it. It might be some people in the chat never heard it. So read it.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. So I'm gonna just stick in the book. Okay, so when you look at it, you said that God forewarned these people. Number one
I didn't say that. You said that.
No, you said that God forewarned those.
I asked you that. Yeah, I asked you that, and you said he did.
Yeah, and I told.
And you think that's a reason to kill them and to take their land, G-Con?
Well, hold on. Okay, yeah, I definitely think it is. I'm gonna tell you why. Okay, let's say for instance, right?
I got to serve the God of Israel, though. I'm just gonna die and get my land.
Hold on. Listen. Okay, let's get.
It makes no sense, bro.
Now, okay, you got any children?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Let me ask you this question. Let's say, for instance, you have a child that's in your house, right? Let's say, for instance, that child, I don't know how old they is, but say, for instance, that child starts to start killing everybody in your house.
What they got to do with you,
okay, I'm asking this question. Are you going to protect those children? Or what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So listen, in order for your child or your children to know that you're serious, you have to bring judgment on it, don't you?
That don't make sense, though, G-Con. That's a non sequitur.
No, it's not.
Listen. That's a stupid question, and I don't mean no disrespect, but it's a stupid example because the God of the Bible didn't do that. He took the land from these people.
Let me tell you why he took the land. Let's see why he took the land according to the Bible. Let's look what it says.
Genesis 15. You just went and read Genesis 15. Uh-oh. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, it looked like I blanked out. You just went and read Genesis 15, G-Con. And it clearly told Abraham this was a prophecy. So God already foreknew this, which meant that God could have stopped it if he was omnibenevolent. See, this is why I wanted you to read these verses.
Well, hold on. Wait.
Let me finish my point. You read Genesis 15 where God was talking to Abraham, right? Right? And God told Abraham before, he said, your people, your descendants will be a stranger in the land for 400 years, right? So God could have prevented this, but he didn't. And not only didn't God, it ain't like that the Canaanites came to the Israelites and they were defending themselves. This is why you keep trying to paint this false narrative, and I keep throwing it down. Because God sent the Israelites out of Egypt after he told them to steal everything they could from the Egyptians. And they was in the desert for 40 years, which was stupid because Israel and the land of Canaan is another 6 hours away. I don't know why they was in the wilderness for 40 years. That don't make no sense. It's a 6-hour drive.
You said you read the Bible. You should know.
It's pathetic. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's a stupid story. But the point I'm making is, why would you try to use that example of me when God sent the Israelites to kill these people? These people.
All right. Now watch this. Here's biblically why. Let's look at it. Deuteronomy 9:4. Look what it says. Speak not in thy heart after the Lord thy God have cast.
Let me follow you because you
it's Deuteronomy 9:4.
Okay, come on.
So remember, if Israel got the tripping, God did the same thing to Israel, did he or did he not?
All right, read what you're talking about.
All right.
This is when Israel rebelled right here, matter of fact.
So hold on. I'm just letting you know. If Israel did the same thing these nations did, God did the same thing to Israel. Did he or did he not?
Read your verses, because I don't think you understand.
Can't say it's racism here if he did.
Read your verses.
All right, so look what it said. Speak not in thine heart after that the Lord thy God have cast them out.
What verse you reading? What verse you reading, G-Con?
Deuteronomy 9:4.
Okay.
You ready? Speak not in thine heart after that the Lord thy God have cast them out before thee, saying, for my righteousness the Lord have brought me into this to possess this land. But for the wickedness of these nations, the Lord doth drive them out from before thee. Now, before it was drive them out. It didn't become to kill them until they wanted to stay. But let's continue on. Look what it says. It says, not for thy righteousness or for thy uprightness of thine heart dost thou go to possess their land. But for the wickedness of these nations, the Lord doth God drive them out from before thee. Right? So hold on for a minute. So let me ask you this question. I got a question for you. Because you said that there's some type of racism here. And let me ask you this.
Your God is a maniac racist, yeah.
Okay, now let me ask you this. Now, it clearly just said because these nations was wicked, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so listen. If Israel was doing the same thing as these nations, what was to happen to Israel?
He didn't wipe Israel out, though. He killed a lot of them because he was crazy, but he never wiped them out.
No, brother, listen. The Bible clearly said that all these nations that you see right here,
is going to be up. If you look at the Bible, clearly says that these very things that came on of them being wiped out, he wiped them out too just as well. Israel was kicked out of their land, right? And if Israel wanted to stay in the land, he said, "You will die." That's what he told them. Did he or did he not say that? When God, if Israel got to tripping, he said that the curse is going to come on you. He said everything that was put on these nations is going to be put on you just as well if you do the wickedness that they doing. So how is he racist? How is he showing any respect to person if he's doing the same thing on them as he's going to put on the nations?
That's simple, brother, because all through the Tanakh, the Torah, and even past that, when we get to the prophets, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Daniel, always speaks about God holding Israel above all nations. Now, to answer your question, because you started at chapter 9 and 4, and so this is why I say when people read the Bible, they cherry pick. You should all stop, read the whole context, start at verse 1. And it speaks about, here, O Israel, you are to cross over the Jordan today and go into the depossessed nations, greater and mightier than yourself, nations, plural, goyim, cities great and fortified up to heaven. I don't know what that means. A people great and tall and descendants of Anakim, whom you know and of whom you heard it said, who can stand before the descendants of Anak? Therefore understand today that the Lord your God is he who goes over before you as a consuming fire. He will destroy them and bring them down before you, so you shall drive them out and destroy them quickly, as the Lord has said to you. Now, this is clearly, you didn't read those verses, you just started at verse 4. See, this is why you have to take everything in context and understand biblical context.
What's your point, though?
Before them. He said he's going to go before them and consume these nations with fire.
Why is he doing that, though? Why, though?
Okay, so this is what we're going to get on. In your mind, in your religious mind, you think that the reasons for taking out these other nations is just taking their land, not these nations invading Israel, but these nomadic tribes that we hardly have any historicity of, just gonna go and God gonna go before them as a consuming fire and kill all these people, women and children, and keep virgins, because they don't want to convert to his way of thinking. They don't want to convert to his religion. That is pathetic. That is sad. That is sad for anyone to believe that a God, even if you're, just think about this, you can. Even if your biblical God was actually a real being, I would never in hell would want to serve a God like that would actually want to wipe out other people because they had another opinion of worship.
No, hold on, brother.
That's sad. That's pathetic.
Wait, brother. Do you actually want to see the things that they was doing while he wiped them out?
Brother, I've read this Bible 1,000 times.
Let me ask you a question.
The point, listen.
Hold on. Let me ask you this question, bro. Let me ask you this question.
Ask me a question. Make sure it goes with the debate.
Okay, all right, so fine. So you said, okay, so listen, if these people was doing wickedness, do you feel what do you feel is killing somebody for a purpose of greed and lust? Is that okay to do that? Is
okay? I'll tell you what. I'm going to answer that question in twofold, because it's such a simple elementary question that I get from so many Christians.
That's why I'm trying to give it to you.
And watch this. I'm going to answer it twofold. Now, for a God that you believe in, it's a pathetic God, but it's okay. I respect your beliefs to a certain extent. But for you to believe in a God, to say, well, hey, and I'm going to answer your question very, very, very clearly. To say, well,
you keep saying your answer, but you ain't answering.
I'm going to give me time to talk. Don't get so emotional. It's okay. For you to say that, well, God killed these people because they were doing so many wicked things in the land. That's basically your basic argument. You have nothing else to go on. That you're saying that God, these people deserve to be genocided and killed because they were wicked and they didn't want to convert to his way of thinking. Well, I want to ask you something, G-Con. There's a lot of wickedness going on today. There's a lot of things that people doing today. Is God still killing people like that? Or did he just do it in the biblical time? Why he didn't kill the slave masters who had your ancestors enslaved for almost 400 years? Why he didn't kill them? So your God seems to be working in a time period that we had no witness. We didn't witness any of this stuff, but you're actually trying to justify it. So why God ain't doing the same thing with the wickedness going on in the world now? It's over 6 billion people. A whole bunch of people doing a lot of wicked things is not following Israel. And to answer your question, no, I won't kill people because I think they're doing it. I'm gonna kill people to defend my family. Yes, I'm not gonna go in somebody else's land like the Israelites did. because
So let me ask you a question. Let me ask you this question.
God was on their side and killed them because they.
Wait, hold on, brother. Brother. Now you said that you will kill somebody to defend your family, right?
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so let me ask you a question.
That's easy.
According to the narrative of the Bible, is this the house of God? In other words, is the earth the house of God? Is it his planet?
Man, no.
So in the narrative of the Bible, is not his?
Obviously not. If he told you the Ten Commandments, he was jealous of other gods.
God. Listen, brother, just think about what you're saying. Because listen.
No, you need to think about what you're asking.
Listen, brother, in order for us to be having an argument about the God of the Bible, you should know the narrative of the Bible. So I'm asking you this.
I think I know the narrative of the Bible better than you do.
So listen, bro. Who created the earth in the narrative of the Bible?
Your God did. Your God.
Okay, so listen, is it his house?
Yeah, it's his house.
So why in the hell you gonna say some silly stuff like what you just said, talking about that you gonna kill to protect your family when God killed to protect his family?
But see, let me tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why that was even more dumber than what you said before, G-Con. I'm gonna tell you why that's more stupid than what you said before. Now you just said there you go again, trying to make these human examples with your invisible God of the Bible. If someone comes to my house, tries to break in, kill my family, or do anything, not even come to my house, at my school, messing with my grandkids, anything like that, I'm going to kill them.
You're going to kill them.
Now check this out, G-Con. Your God, seeked. You know what the word seek means? He went and sought. Let me use salt. Let me use your King James. He went and sought out nations for the Israelites to destroy and take their land. These nations didn't seek out Israel every time. Do you understand that? Do you understand the difference? So
wait, hold on. It just tells you.
You believe.
Wait, hold on, brother. Listen, you just said that clearly that the earth is God's according to the narrative of the Bible.
So that means he can just kill who he wants to.
Okay, so hold on, listen. So listen, brother. Now listen. If he just told you, and I read in Deuteronomy 9 that they was doing wickedness in the land, that's why he. Listen, bro. It's not the earth, the Lord's, and the fullness thereof. So if somebody is doing wickedness in the land and they doing all this pollution stuff, why are you mad because God sent somebody to kill them? But then you just said that to protect your family that you would kill somebody.
Yeah, because I ain't gonna wait on no spook God to do it for me. But listen, I ain't gonna wait on no spook God to do it. But listen, G-Con.
God is long suffering though.
Okay. What does long suffering mean, G-Con? You know what that means?
400 years before he took him out. That's why long suffering.
G-Con, check this out.
400 now.
This don't make sense what you're saying. G, I want you to listen to yourself. You're saying that since the earth belongs to God, since he created all of this, we hypothetically talking about your biblical God. Since he made all of this, then if people are being wicked, he can just kill them all. Right? That's what you agree to, right?
Hey, listen, you agreed to it?
No, answer the question, please.
You agree,
answer
yes,
the question.
You both agreed to it. You agreed to it too, right?
No, I don't agree to it. I don't agree to you.
You just said anybody. Listen, you just said.
Hold on, G-Con. You over talking. We can't overtalk each other, bro.
Go ahead.
We can't overtalk each other. Don't try to mix up what I said. You use a straw man argument. Don't try to use what I said to say I agree with you. I said that if someone was messing with me, I don't give a damn about how wicked nobody is next door to me.
Your family. You said your family.
I don't care what somebody's doing or the neighbor's doing across the street, as long as they ain't messing with mine. This is not the same thing with your biblical maniacal God. He's going to kill people who so-called doing wickedness. We'll keep using that term, wickedness. These people who continue to do wickedness, he's going to kill them and take their land. Not only is he killing these people, he's killing children too. Are the children to be blamed too, G-Con? You think the children deserve to die too?
Well, yeah, God says you gonna
seems to be studying on me, man. You kind of got caught up with your tongue.
Nah, because I'm reading some at the same time. What you just said.
Oh, okay. I thought you started choking.
Nah, because you kind of, I got a scripture for you. I want to show you something, but that's cool. Okay, now what was your question?
I want you to answer my question. Do you think the kids? I even go back to Noah's flood. We don't know how many people was on the earth at the time of Noah's flood, even though we know it didn't really happen. But just hypothetically speaking, the Noah's flood happened, and he only saved 8 people: Noah's wife, his 3 sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth, and their 3 wives. How many people you think was on the earth at that time? Just give me a guess. It don't matter.
It probably was millions of people on the earth.
Okay, we'll say millions. Okay, we'll say hundreds of thousands. How many babies you think were there?
Probably was a gang of them.
And all of them died. You think that was cool?
The Bible says heaven is full of babies on it.
No, the Bible don't say that.
It does say that. It says the kingdom of heaven is full of children.
Oh, it do say that? Show me that verse. Give me that verse. So you believe all these babies already went to heaven? Show me where the babies that has been killed in genocide is in heaven. Show me where the Bible say that at.
It says
you must got a whole different type Bible. Man, what you got there, Drag?
Yeah, this is a spotted leopard gecko. This is my wife's pet.
Oh,
and
cool,
it just,
man.
Yeah, it likes to climb up all over people and eat bugs and shit. So
it's Luke 18 and 16.
And what does it say?
Let's go there. Look, Luke 18 and 16.
So we get the real interpretation about this.
While we're waiting on that, yeah, this thing is, man, it's about $20 from I think she got it from PetSmart. Eat worms and crickets and shit, and it's a little vicious little thing.
I don't know. That must be a southern thing, because up here, my wife and daughters would be screaming like hell. Oh my God, get away. It's going to eat me.
She told me I get well, my son don't like it. I told him, I said, this thing got some claws on it. That's how he's staying on you. And he said, okay. So he went and grabbed him, and he started screaming, went and ran in the room. And I'm like, you want to watch Chucky and It and all this, but you can't stand that little gecko? Come on now.
You know, it's always... My parents would show you how bad shit was, though. They used to try to scare me to death. Like, as soon as they know I was scared of something, you know, all your brothers and sisters are trying to scare you to death with it. You know what I'm saying? Like a snake. Like, you're scared of a snake. Next thing you know, they throwing snakes right at you and shit. And you dodging snakes.
We went a long time tonight, man. We went a long time, man. I hope y'all guys ain't got to go to work in the morning.
Oh, yeah, we do it. So y'all ready? Did y'all find that verse?
No,
this is Luke. You got Luke 8. I mean, Luke, what is it?
You said 18.
Luke 18, and it is 16, and it says, let's jump to 15. It says, and they brought unto him also infants, that he would touch them, but when his disciples saw it, they rebuked them. But Jesus called them unto him and said, suffer little children to come unto me, and forbid them not. He says, for of such is the kingdom of heaven. Verily I say unto you, whosoever should not receive the kingdom of God as a little child shall in no wise enter therein. So he says the kingdom of heaven, infants, is full of what's called.
No, that's not what that says, G-Con. That's not what that say at all, G-Con. Matter of fact, I want to give you some references. It's in Matthew 19:13. I'm going to read this again. It says, then they also brought infants to him. We're talking about live infants, that he might touch them. But when the disciples saw it, they rebuked them. But Jesus called them to him and said, let the little children come to me, and do not forbid them, for of such is the kingdom of God. Surely I say to you, whoever does not receive the kingdom of God as a little child will by no means enter it. That has nothing to do with babies in heaven. This is why I say you need to understand.
No. Hold on, brother.
Hold up, G-Con. Hold up, brother. When you need to learn. What he's telling the grown people here, if you don't come to me as a child, it's a metaphor. You shall not enter the kingdom of God. He ain't said nothing about infants going to heaven. You need to read that again and get some.
Hold on, brother. Hold on. Listen. You know how we got that context? Because remember with David, when David's child got killed like that. I mean, when David's child was killed because of what he did.
What he did to Bathsheba. Yeah.
He said, "I shall go to him." He says, "He shall not come to me."
Okay. Well, I mean,
so hold on.
I mean, now you're going to David, but I'm just saying.
Hold on, bro. So listen.
The Bible doesn't back that up. The Bible doesn't say anything about
Isaiah 7:16. It says.
Hold up, stop. G-Con, before we go to another verse, do you understand that the verse you just read to me doesn't say what you thought it said?
Listen, no. The kingdom of heaven is full of children. In other words,
it doesn't say that in what you just read there, brother.
How's it don't say that?
Oh my God. I just read it, brother. Want me to read it again?
Right,
Tell me exactly what verse where it says the kingdom of heaven is full of children. Where it say that at? What verse? I just read 15 through 17. You got to be willing to learn to accept something. I don't see nothing you just said. There's no biblical scholar on the face of the planet that would tell you that these verses say that. So ain't no sense us keep going to verse if you don't have the proper interpretation of these verses. The verses says that surely I say to you, whoever does not receive the kingdom of God as a little child. Do we need to go to the Greek on this?
Why is that though? Why?
He say, by no means enter it. In other words, and Jesus says this in several verses. Let's go to Matthew 19.
Well, hold on, brother. Why is that though? That's what you need to answer. Why?
I don't need to ask that. I'm correcting you on what you just said.
No. Listen, brother. There's a reason why. In other words, what is the characteristic of a child?
Brother, you jumping in all types of business.
Listen, a child does not know any good or evil.
I get that, G-Con. I get that, G-Con.
Let me ask you a question.
But what I'm saying, the Bible, you said that the Bible verse said that children's in heaven. I'm just telling you that that's not what that verse means.
No, listen, he's using that analogy because why is I'm gonna show you why.
So now you backpedaling.
No, I'm not backpedaling. Listen, he said, for such is the kingdom of heaven. Guess why such is the kingdom of heaven? Why? Because children are innocent, yo. They're
right,
not.
I understand that metaphor. He says it all through the New Testament. Jesus says that about 11 times in the New Testament. This is the same thing. G-Con, listen, brother. G-Con, there's nothing you can teach me about the Bible. He says the same thing to Nicodemus. He says, unless you be born again, and of course he wasn't talking about going into the physical. Right, it's the same thing. I understand the metaphor, but I'm trying to correct you. You're using verses to back up what you're saying, but it's not true. That verse does not mean what you said it meant. That's the point I'm trying to make to you. This is why I don't like to have real discussions with Christians who really don't understand the interpretation of the verses. Because you're manipulating the verses to make it say something that it ain't saying. Then you want to jump to another verse. I mean, I don't know. That's the point I make.
Well, the Bible is clear. These children.
No, the Bible is not clear. It's not clear at all.
Listen, bro, these children are not guilty of sin right here.
But that's not the point. The point is you said the Bible said that children. Hold on, G-Con. Let's not get lost. See, that's one thing about it. We have to learn the art of dialogue and debate. Let's not get lost. I asked you a simple question. I said, were there kids that were killed in Noah's flood? You said, yes, I'm sure. You said it was millions of people. Then I said, well, I think that was a terrible thing that your God did. Then you said, well, God said that little children are in heaven. Then you tried to use Luke 18 to back that up, and that's not true. That's the only point I'm making. And I'm about to go, y'all. We're about to end this show. So go on and say,
yeah. This is we're gonna give last word to G-Con because you gave me a lot to think about.
Let G-Con get the last word.
Go ahead, G-Con.
Thank you for the discussion, though, G-Con.
Right, cool. Appreciate it.
Now, hey, I got respect. Hey, brother, you still my bro, no matter what.
You still my brother too, man, no matter what. Now, here's the case. Here's what's funny right here is because he said that he will protect in his house. That's what he said. He said, if anybody come against his house, he will protect his house. According to the narrative of the Bible, if this is God's house, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. If somebody is doing any type of wickedness causing confusion in the household, God is love, but also God must bring judgment on those that are immoral. So if a person is demoralized and they're causing corruption, then in order for him to police the society, he has to bring judgment on them. The problem is with these brothers and sisters, man, is they think that, like he said earlier, he said some white officers are good. Why are they good then? Because they must police the community because there are bad guys that's out there. So if you say that you want to keep your society up, one of the things that you need to do is police your community. And so when we look at what the Bible is saying, the Bible is clear. The Bible is clear that God is policing his society to the and he's using agents to do so. So he said that he would do the same thing. This brother said he would do the same thing. So why is he mad at God for doing this when he would do the same thing?
Well, listen, I want to say it was an interesting discussion, and we're gonna have to do this some other time. But listen, for Emperor Atheist and for Dragnut and his house lizard, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. And for my man G-Con down here, listen, thanks for stopping by. I hope you guys enjoyed the discussion.
No doubt.
Join us next week, because next week we're going to be talking about the Second Amendment and how wonderful it is, right? How wonderful the Second Amendment is. So for the crew here, listen, thanks again for watching, and we are out of here.